Okay, it's a couple minutes past, so we should probably get started just to be respectful of everybody's time. So, hi everybody, I'm Marcel Rodardi, as you all know, Executive Director for the California Contract Cities. As we do on our virtual sessions, this is hopefully, the last of our formal conference type virtual sessions. We are planning to be back in person in September in Indian Wells. It will be the same format as our annual conference, so we'll do a day and a half of sessions. We'll have golf on Thursday, full day on Friday, half a day on Saturday, with the dinner on Saturday night. That won't be an installation dinner, but will be a dinner to celebrate our last president, our current outgoing president will have been our immediate past president at the time. Uh, uh, one Miss Lindsay Horvath, Mayor Lindsay Horvath from the city of West Hollywood, who also happens to be, I'm going to throw this out there all the time because I love it. She happens to be a candidate for the LA County Board of Supervisors. Sheila Keel seat. So I'm excited for that, and so then she'll be further down the trail in her campaign. So maybe she'll give us an update then or whatever. But looking forward to some awesome stuff from her. We're gonna do our video today, which is from our California Joint Powers Insurance Authority. So if you'll bear with me 1 second, we'll get that going. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Give me 1 sec. It's not working, right? There we go.
Hi, this is Jorge. I can't hear anything.
Same.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
we can't hear anything.
start again. Were you guys able to hear the video?
No.
Okay, let me.
Yes,
I was.
Yes, I could hear it.
I could hear it.
No.
Oh man, Jorge, you mess it up for everybody. Now we get to start all over again.
Someone said same. I think it was Lindsay.
I couldn't
Okay.
hear it either.
Okay, so let's see. I got it. Share sound, optimize for video, desktop too. Okay, so if you can't hear it, yell it out. Otherwise, we're gonna go with it. Here we go.
Can't hear.
I cannot hear.
I cannot hear.
Well, all right. So I think a few of you weren't able to hear them, but I'll splice it in. I'll splice in the actual video when we post it on YouTube, so you'll all be able to review it. It's a great video. So thanks to the California JPIA from that. My apologies for any sort of technical difficulties. I think our Zoom is getting tired, doing it all the same way on this end, but I think just Zoom's getting tired. So now, with no further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome our current president of the California Contract Cities Association, one Mayor Lindsay Horvath.
Thank you so much, Marcel, and thank you to all of our contract cities leaders who are on our call today, and for everyone who's participating in this important educational opportunity. One of the things that we love about contract cities is our ability to learn from one another, to share ideas, and to make sure that we are informing ourselves about the role that we have to play in our communities. And for those of us who do contract with the Sheriff's Department, who is here with us today, as well as other public safety officials, we want to make sure that we are informed in our role, how we as city leaders interact with the development of a contract, what the contract means for our cities, and what kind of services we can expect, and what kind of influence we have over the delivery of those services. And so today's conversation is so critically important. We created a public safety working group that's now going to be a public safety Public Safety Standing Committee this coming year to address issues that have been coming up in all of our communities. And having this baseline foundational knowledge of how the contract works in our cities is critically important to understanding how we can then take those next steps to make sure that community safety conversations are had in the right way in all of our communities. So I'm grateful today that all of you are participating, and especially to those who are leading our discussion today. A special introduction today of Paramount City Manager John Moreno, Paramount Public Safety Director Adriana Lopez, Senior Management Analyst Anthony Martinez, and Sheriff's Department Contract Law Bureau Captain Sergio Escobedo. Before I turn it to John, a few words about him. John Moreno, Paramount City Manager since October of 2015, began working for the city as a management analyst in 1993. Since that time, he has served as Assistant Public Works Director, Assistant Public Safety Director, and Assistant City Manager. The Fresno native has a bachelor's degree from UCLA in history and a master's in public administration from USC. And for nearly 3 decades, Moreno has been a key presence on a team known for innovation and positive, inventive outlook. He has helped foster a customer service atmosphere for residents and businesses alike that has come to be known as Paramount's hallmark. He also dedicates his time to Liability Trust Fund Oversight Claims Board and Oversight Committee, and has worked on a public safety working group, and we thank him for joining us today. And next, I will introduce Adriana Lopez. Before becoming the Public Safety Director for the City of Paramount in 2017, Adriana served as the Assistant Public Safety Director for approximately 11 years. Adriana holds a bachelor's degree of science in criminal justice with an emphasis in corrections and a minor in Spanish from California State University, Long Beach. She has worked for the cities of Paramount, Downey, and Southgate in different departments, which included recreation, human resources, and public safety. She has worked for the city of Paramount a total of 23 years, both in part-time and full-time capacity. And as the public safety director, Adriana oversees 5 different divisions within the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, which is the largest contract in the public safety department and is part of the sworn division. Anthony Martinez, since 2005, has served the city of Paramount under several functions. Assigned to the Public Safety Department, Anthony served as a crime and intelligence analyst with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department as a city contractor. For 9 years, he supported local, state, and federal investigators, analyzing an array of gang, homicide, and narcotic cases in Paramount. Anthony holds a bachelor's degree in criminology and law from the University of California, Irvine, and a master's degree in public administration from California State University, Long Beach. He also holds state certificates in crime analysis, project management, grant management, and Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. Now, as a senior management analyst, Anthony serves as a management team member in the Public Safety Department, helping to manage the sheriff's service contract, department budget, federal grants, emergency operations, and public safety programs. And finally, last but certainly not least, Captain Sergio Escobedo is the current unit commander of the Contract Law Enforcement Bureau, CLEB. As unit commander of CLEB, Captain Escobedo oversees more than $850 million in contracted law enforcement services for local cities, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, Los Angeles community colleges, and multiple county departments. A 25-year veteran of the department, Captain Escobedo has served in a number of roles, including assignments at Men's Central Jail, Pico Rivera Station, the Office of the Assistant Sheriff, and the Office of the Undersheriff. Captain Escobedo has an associate degree from Don Bosco Technical Institute and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from California State University, Fullerton. Certainly a well-informed and knowledgeable panel, and I will turn it over to our Paramount staff to begin our discussion today.
Thank you, Madam President. Appreciate it. For those of all you that can see me clearly, this is not a spotlight. It's actually a sunroof that is shining down on me. So I'm not an angel. It's appearing from the sky. So I just want to make that all clear with you. Again, it's a pleasure being here. First off, I wanted to say that over the years, we've had a really, really good working relationship with the Sheriff's Department, particularly our station captains and our regional chiefs and commanders, and of course with the lieutenant, the sergeants and deputies who faithfully have served our city over the years. We definitely respect the work that they do and consider them one of the leading law enforcement agencies in the country. However, as any relationship it hasn't all been rosy. There's no doubt that we've had our differences over the years, but we've always worked them out. It's not easy, it's not perfect, and it takes a lot of work. Some people on the outside of our profession every now and then have asked me, hey, what is it like? How is it contracting for police services with the LA County Sheriff's Department? So a lot of times I tell them, I compare it to healthcare. I say that think of having your own police department as a PPO and then contracting with the Sheriff's Department as an HMO. Just like an HMO, there are shared costs, there's levels of approval, and in many cases, you have to work a little extra hard to get the services that you truly want. But in the end, it's cheaper than having your own police force. So a little bit of background about Paramount. Paramount is served by the Lakewood Station along with 4 other cities. Paramount is the furthest geographically of the 5 cities that serve out of the Lakewood Station. And because of this, we've had to really get creative over the years on how we partner with the Sheriff's Department for public safety services. Paramount has been known to try some pretty unique stuff over the years. For instance, we were the first city in the county to have a city community service officer program. We were the first city in the county to have our own city logo on all of our patrol cars. We were the first city in the county to have a sheriff's substation, which today actually functions almost as a full service police station. Paramount used to be a really rough and tumble town in the 1980s and the early 1990s with several street gangs and narcotics related violence. However, today I'm proud to say that our crime rate is dramatically lower, and in fact, it's at the lowest level since it's been since 1973, which is amazing. And I attribute this dramatic reduction to a number of instances and things that we've done over the years, which of course includes the close working relationship that we've had with the Sheriff's Department. Now, I just mentioned a couple minutes ago about our creative approach to public safety services. But I also want to mention that in addition to being creative, we've also had to be very, very vigilant about how we manage our contract. And that's what we're here to discuss with you today. For a long, long time, the Sheriff's Department has tracked all of our contract compliance by what is called patrol minutes. In other words, they have a fixed total number of minutes allocated to your city for each month. Then they tally up how many total patrol minutes that they have provided to your city. They compare that to the patrol minutes that you should be given, and then tell you what your compliance rate is. Sometimes they tell you your patrol minutes are at 98% compliance, while other times it could be higher or lower than that. So while they track their compliance using patrol minutes, they bill us based on patrol cars. Again, we as cities buy patrol cars, but they track their compliance in patrol minutes. So years ago, we found some discrepancies in this type of method, and which can be very detailed and technical. So I won't be going into that at the moment. So what we've come up with is a way to track our contract compliance based on the number of patrol cars that we pay for and not the number of minutes. We've been doing this for a number of years now, and it seems to be working well for us. But I have to warn you, what you're about to see takes a lot of tedious work, and it may not be the right thing for your city, or maybe not necessary for you, but it's something that we feel as a city is a much better approach. And yes, it does take time and resources, as I said, but our feeling has always been, why not? It's our most expensive contract in our city, so we're willing to invest the time, the money and the resources that is necessary to make sure our taxpayers are getting the most for what they pay for. Also, from a resident's standpoint, they want to see patrol cars patrolling their streets and responding to their calls. We feel that this type of tracking ensures the maximum number of patrol cars are out on our streets each day. Because again, that's what we pay for, and that's what our residents and businesses expect. So again, I want to thank our Captain David Sprengel and the captains before him who have worked with us on tracking our compliance in this manner and have responded to our concerns when our compliance was not always where it ought to be. So again, I've talked enough. Now I'm going to hand it over to two staff members who will show you how we track our contract compliance. So first of all, I'm going to turn it over to Adriana Lopez, our public safety director, and then from there she'll turn it over to Anthony Martinez. Adriana?
Yes, thank you, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
John,
can.
can you hear me? Okay, great. So thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and share our PowerPoint. So give me a second here.
I have to change the setting back. Give me 1 sec, Adriana.
Okay.
Okay, you're good to go.
Okay, can everybody see the PowerPoint? Okay, I'll go ahead and start. First of all, good afternoon. My name is Adriana Lopez, and as mentioned before, I've been working for the city for several years. I want to say decades. And my presentation today will cover how the city.
Hang on a second, Adriana. I don't see your presentation.
Okay, let me see. Let's try to work.
Go right there. Go share screen. Right there. Yeah, click. Okay, then go. Now go right there. And then display settings.
Okay, is there?
Okay,
I can see it now.
Get a phone.
1 second. Let me make sure you guys get the. Okay, so our screen is up now. But before we get started, I just want to make sure that, like John mentioned, that this is something that we created many years ago, and it definitely works for our city. We feel that by reviewing and tracking our contract both on a daily and monthly basis really assist us. By doing so, we feel it's very important to both the Sheriff's Department and the city, and it allows us to identify and resolve concerns in a timely manner. So the first slide is going to be our 575 contract. And basically what that is the annual contract that every city has with the Sheriff's Department. So the city of Paramount, we have 10 56-hour cars, and we also have 40-hour cars. And if you look at the 56-hour cars, those are cars that have to be deployed 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. That is what we refer to as our mandatory daily deployment or schedule. And then in regards to the 40-hour cars, they have to be out there 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Now, those are highlighted because when we do our tracking, our review, we basically focus on those two items there. The other items are considered non-relief. So basically what that means, that's going to be our special assignment officers, and those as long as they work 40 hours and their schedule varies, so it's very difficult to keep track of the minutes for them. Our 56-hour cars and 40-hour cars are considered relief. What that means is that if somebody goes on vacation or calls in sick, they should be backfilled. Okay. So like John mentioned, this is something that we do, and it is tedious, but when we're reviewing our contract, we make sure that we're looking at these 4 areas. We monitor our actual deployment schedule, and we cross-reference any mandatory deployment. And I'll go into more specifically into all these areas just so that you have a report that you can follow along. The third item there is that we review our staffing levels per patrol unit. Now, one of the things that I want to make sure that I highlight is that with the city of Paramount, we focus on the units that are provided, not necessarily the minutes. And this is all going to come together later on in the presentation. And the fourth area is that we analyze our contract billing on a monthly basis when we get our report. Once we gather all this information, we could look at this. And this is important is because, like I mentioned, with the non-relief items, which are going to be your special assignment officers, with those, you have to make sure that you don't have to suspend an item because somebody's on leave, whether it's maternity leave or medical leave. If they happen to be on that type of leave, then you would ask for the Sheriff's Department to suspend that item. So this is what we do on an annual basis, or I should say monthly basis, but more specifically on a daily basis. At the end of the month, we create this report, but in order to create this comprehensive report, we have to go through these 5 steps. If we're going to go ahead and start with the red dot, which is we collect the DDWS, which is a daily piece of information that we're able to collect. Once again, I want to make sure that everybody understands that when we're running this information is not to look at productivity, it's making sure that we're getting our contract fulfilled. Okay, so let's start with step number 1. Okay, once again, we review this information in a DDWS. It's basically a log that every deputy has to fill. So when we focus on that, we're looking at several things. We're looking at the amount of deputies that were in a car. And just to go back a little bit, we started this back in 2015. Throughout the years, we've noticed that we could improve in certain areas, and in other areas it wasn't necessary. So we feel that we've created now a report that really fits the needs of the city of Paramount. Once again, I want to make sure I emphasize this throughout the presentation. We are not analyzing this based on minutes. We are analyzing this based on patrol cars. So this is the first step. Okay, as you can see here, we have what we refer to as a community service officer, and he is trained and authorized to use the CAD. So every day, what I ask my staff to do is write down who logged on. So as you can see here, if we could refer to date February 7th, you're going to first see the first column, it's the date, and then the unit. The unit is basically what call sign that car was assigned for the day. So knowing the contract, which to me is very important, I know it's very important to our city council as well as our city manager. You see the 136 Adam, the 13th is assigned to the Lakewood station and the 6th is assigned to Paramount. So just by looking at this, I could tell that 136 Adam is a patrol unit, which is part of my mandatory deployment. And if you go across, you're going to see the shift, which is an E, and it's early. We could refer to that as a graveyard shift. Then you're going to see the deputy name. Now here, just by looking at it, I could see it was a single deputy in a car, and then we also have the ability to write down if it was a two-man car. Now moving along, we didn't have a second deputy there. Then I could see the shift, and then I could see the minutes. So there's a column there that says 480 minutes. Then probably one of the most important columns here is the classification code, which is a G. Now all those things should match. Okay, so the G is going to tell me that it's a one deputy vehicle and it's part of my patrol minutes. So that matches, so I'm okay with that. If they happen to put the wrong classification code, then that's where I would have an issue and I would bring it up to the station lieutenant because that can go against your numbers. So that's usually when it's an overtime spot. So once again, this is done daily. And one of the reasons why we do this daily is that at the end of the month, we don't want to have to review all this information for a whole month. So this is a task that our CSOs must conduct on a daily basis. Okay, so now we go on to the second step. Now, the previous slide that I showed you, that included everyone. That included patrol cars, that included non-sworn personnel, CSOs, that included anybody who was working overtime. So now this second step, what we do is we extract and document our 56-hour cars and 40-hour cars. Once again, those are our daily mandatory deployment cars that must be out there. We analyze that, and now at this point, we start documenting if we had any missing patrol units. Again, not focusing on minutes, patrol units. Okay, so this is almost like a second review of all the information that we collected. We analyzed the 56-hour cars and the 40-hour cars. One of the reasons why we do this, because if you remember, I mentioned that our 40-hour cars are out there only 5 days out of the week. So I have to make sure that they're being scheduled on the days that the lieutenant and I agreed on. We really don't want them to be out there deployed on our slowest days. We want them out there on our busiest time and during the busiest days. Okay, and once again, we will look to make sure that everything matches, both if somebody was working patrol and they put the right classification, which would credit the numbers to our contract, or if somebody was working overtime and they accidentally logged on as with the identifier that would give us credit for our contract. And believe it or not, that has happened before because it's the same deputies that are working, whether they're patrol and then they go on to overtime and they just forget to make that change. So that's where we're going to be looking to see if everything matches, both the unit and the classification. So at this point, we put this all together, and I'll be showing you the report pretty soon. We identify any errors, any non-compliance trends, or any billing mistakes. If somebody didn't suspend a non-relief position, then at this point, I would once again bring it up to the lieutenant, and then he would go to contract law. Okay, at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Anthony Martinez, who's going to discuss the report. And he basically puts the final report together before he presents it to me, and then I will present it to the lieutenant and the captain. Anthony?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Adriana. As John and Adriana had mentioned, my name is Anthony Martinez. I'm the Senior Management Analyst here at Paramount. So we are going to open up this segment with a question. Why don't we look at compliance minutes? Well, throughout the years, we've learned that solely relying or looking upon the compliance minutes or analyzing both the compliance rates is not necessarily indicative of having a fully staffed deployment on a monthly basis. So for today's presentation, we're going to showcase two case studies. We're going to look at a deployment scheduled in August and then another one in December of last year. Before you or in front of you is our August deployment schedule. Now, bear in mind, this is a snapshot from August 9th to August 19th. Going from column to column, we have our graveyard shift, our daytime shift, and our evening shift. The red cells indicate that a patrol unit was not staffed for that particular shift during that particular day. And the yellow cells indicate that there were two deputies that were staffed for that particular shift. Once again, that's one vehicle and two deputies. For August, we identified that there were 21 days where we went without a fully staffed evening patrol shift. Now, when we look at the sheriff's compliance rate for the minutes, it rates August at 97%, whereas our rating is 86%. Now, we arrive at the 86% using a simple calculation. We take the total number of units that were actually staffed for August, 107, and divided by the total mandatory units for August, 124. As you can see, there's a very light correlation between your red cells and your yellow cells, or in other words, areas or times where a patrol unit was not staffed, followed by another patrol unit staffed with 2 deputies. Now, bear in mind also that the 2 also increases the minutes, or in other words, to say doubles the minutes because of 2 deputies. Now, I'm going to highlight or showcase 2 trends. The first trend, as you can see on top, as indicated by the arrow, is where we had 3 consecutive days where a unit was not staffed during a during an evening patrol, which, bear in mind, is our busiest shift here in Paramount. Followed by the second trend, where we see 5 consecutive days where a patrol unit was not staffed between August 15th to August 19th. It's these trends, these consecutive trends, where we move forward to mitigate. So the next step would be our mitigation effort, and it starts with our safeguard. During the first week of September, as we are reviewing the August schedule, Adrienne and I will review the August schedule to discuss the results, with special emphasis and attention to the trends that we had mentioned, the consecutive day trend. From there, Adriana will meet with our station area lieutenant, Lieutenant Camacho, to review the August schedule under the same premises, again with emphasis to the staffing levels. From there, Lieutenant Camacho will research, identify, and address staffing levels and work with our Lakewood scheduling personnel. For example, as Adriana mentioned, perhaps there was a unit or a deputy that was on vacation and accidentally speaking, the unit was not backfilled, just to take for an example. Next, Adriana and Lieutenant Camacho will reconvene to discuss further the August report, but more importantly, to formulate a remedy and solutions to prevent such occurrences from occurring for the upcoming month, as well as to develop a system to sustain adequate staffing levels. Afterward, Adriana and Lieutenant Camacho will provide a very informal after-action review or report to City Manager John Moreno and Lakewood Station Captain Springle. So the result is what we see in the December report. For the December patrol deployment report, as you can see, going from column to column, we have our graveyard shift from December 13th to December 23rd. And as mentioned, this is simply a snapshot that we are fully staffed. For daytime, once again, fully staffed. And for the evening, our most busiest shift, in this snapshot, we see that only 2 patrol units were not staffed. In total, we identified for the December report that we went 7 days without having a fully staffed evening shift. Now, aside from this schedule and its adequate staffing levels, we felt that this is a culmination of ongoing teamwork and support both between public safety and the Sheriff's Department. As you can see in the column, we'll both have our sheriff's and city rates in which Adriana will review.
Thank you, Anthony. Now, if we could just, if I can ask you to look at the compliance rates, as you can see, the Sheriff's Department is reflecting 104 and the city's reflecting 94%. So if you just looked at the 104, you would think they gave you above and beyond what your contract states. But this, once again, is why we look at the units, patrol units, because in our situation, we did not have the necessary or the mandatory patrol units that are contract states. But by putting additional bodies in one car, that's where they go above the 104. So, you know, if you look at 104 percentage, you're thinking that they're giving you more. And they're not necessarily giving you more. And it's a little confusing, but once you do this all the time, you see that it's not the minutes again, it's the schedule that you want to focus on. Okay. So that concludes our presentation in regards to our 575, which is our annual contract with the Sheriff's Department. Marcel, I don't know if you want me to stop here, maybe answer any questions, or just go ahead and go to the second part of the presentation. Marcel? Okay, I'll go on to the next part then.
Adriana,
Okay.
I do have a question,
Yes.
Adriana. Since you are
Okay.
tracking your cars based on cars and not minutes, are you tracking when your cars are spent in other jurisdictions, other cities or county unincorporated areas?
Well, the city of Paramount does not have unincorporated areas, and we do informally track the cars that are being spent in other cities. So typically our cars will go into other cities that are part of the Lakewood station. So we're able to hear when our cars, for the most part, are leaving our city to assist.
Okay, so, but you're not tracking per se the amount of time that those cars, your contracted cars, are being spent in other cities, other jurisdictions?
No, not formally. Informally, yes, because our station is open from 7:30 to 9 p.m. So a lot of the times the CSOs will sit and kind of know what everything is that's going on in the 5 cities. And if a lot of our cars are pulled, I'll get a notification either from the station captain or the lieutenant, I should say, or my own staff. And then we just make sure that once everything is addressed and safe for all the deputies, that they come back into our city.
Okay, thank you.
Adriana, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I was having some microphone problems, but yeah, let's have you finish the presentation, and then we'll have Sergio do his part, and then we'll take questions at the end. And real quick, while we're having a tiny bit of a break here, I want to remind everybody we do have 2 raffles today, really good gift cards. So you do have to be present. We're doing this as if we were having our annual conference. So we have 2 gift cards. One's for a $100 gift card, and one's a $50 gift card. So you will have to stay to the end to be present for the raffle. So just keep that in mind. And but I love the presentation so far. Go ahead, Adriana.
Thank you. So the second part of my presentation is how we review and
Can't hear her.
okay, I think I'm back now. Somebody muted me. I just hope it wasn't John Moreno.
No, not at all. We never do that. Adriana. We're good to go. We can hear you now.
Okay, great. So the second part of my presentation is how we track and review our overtime schedule. Now, this is a little bit different because obviously overtime is not mandatory as part of our contract, but as the city of Paramount, we've always had certain areas that we want to make sure that we address and that are important to our city council as well as our city manager. So let me go ahead and go into that area. And before you hear is what we feel that we should augment as part of our quality of life in the city of Paramount. And if you look at the first one, it's crime suppression. And with that, I mean anything that occurs in our city and we feel that we have to give it a little bit more attention. Just remember our patrol deputies are going on call to call, and sometimes they don't have the luxury of just roaming the city and maybe addressing or identifying any trends that are occurring. So we have a crime suppression. We also have quality of life issues in our city that we feel that we are committed to addressing, making sure that our residents feel safe living in our city. And then the third one is traffic enforcement, which is huge. I think a lot of our cities are experiencing numerous and very dangerous traffic activities in our city. So we have dedicated traffic enforcement, and then you have transit enforcement or safety, and then special events. So those are the areas where we really focus and put overtime hours. So in order for us to be able to track and review what we do, my staff, we put together something, and we really help the lieutenant. Just we put all these things together. It's a partnership. He reviews it on a monthly basis to make sure that he agrees with what we're doing and he doesn't have any concerns with it. So for every car that we have that's on overtime, we put out a sheet, a sign-up sheet. We provide it to the lieutenant and he puts it out. We basically fill it out, and if we could start at the top of the page on the right-hand side, it's going to tell you that our X-ray cars are single deputy overtime spots, and we are no longer funding the two-man car. Now, we could always go back to that if we have something occurring in our city that we feel it's necessary to have two deputies, because that's just the nature of what they're out there doing. And then if we look at the green, we specify if it's dispatchable or non-dispatchable. Are they going to be answering calls, or are they basically roaming free to either identify people that might be causing problems in our city, or if they're addressing specific trends where they might have to just sit there and do some type of surveillance, then they would be non-dispatchable. But by making them dispatchable, they are assisting some of our patrol cars that are out there taking calls. So as you could see, we split them up by shifts, once again, early and days, PMs, depending on what our need is. We do definitely review this every 6 months, but however, if the need arises, we do it on a quarterly basis to make sure that the lieutenant is not saying, no, now we need to move them up, or we need to have them start later. And sometimes we'll do this based on if we are having problems or concerns with the students and they get dismissed at 2 o'clock, then the X-ray cars, as we refer to them, will change the shift. Now, this is all overtime, so the people that sign up for these spots know the expectation and the expectation of the car. As you could see, it tells you description, what is expected of this X-ray unit. It's to patrol citywide, response to calls for service, as well as to conduct patrol checks and assist paramount patrol units, including special details. So when somebody signs up, they can't say, okay, I didn't know that's what you wanted, because when they put their name on there, they're reading this. Okay, so the next one. The next one here I'm very proud of. This has been in existence for a very long time, and this is what we refer to as a noise disturbance enforcement. So if you notice, these are spots that typically they have a correlation to the amount of maybe parties or large gatherings, or maybe even one person having their music on too loud. We don't want to pull patrol deputies to address that. If we have to, then we have to, but we would rather have somebody on overtime who understands the city ordinance, because we have a very, what I believe, a very good ordinance in our city where people do get hefty fines for disturbing the peace. So when a deputy signs up for this, they know that all they're going to be doing is addressing noise disturbance and calls coming into the city. This allows the patrol deputies to deal with other types of calls that are not related to noise. And Marcel, that concludes our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Adriana and Anthony and John Moreno. I appreciate it. I'm going to stop your screen share right now. Or if you could do it, I don't know how I would be able to do it, but there you go. All right. So thank you guys. I do appreciate that. Now we're going to bring up Sergio Escobedo from the Contract Law Bureau to talk a little bit about relationships with your captains and how you can establish sort of these types of relationships in order to set the expectations of what your city is doing, or what you might be doing, or what you might be planning on doing. Sergio?
Thank you, Marcel. And thank you, John, and your staff for that very comprehensive review of how you manage and hold us accountable regarding our contract services with the City of Paramount. So that's very impressive of what you're doing at City of Paramount. And I'm sure that this is a model that may be followed by other cities. So thank you for that presentation. So let me start off by saying this. As you all know, your station captain, is your chief of police. The captain is your first point of contact when it comes down to addressing contract issues and or crime issues. So engaging with your station captains, what does that mean to you? To a station captain, engagement means having continual interactions with the city manager, public safety director, or other city staff responsible for the city's public safety efforts. The captain and the city manager are the primary administrators in the command structure within the city's community policing plan. Because of this, it is crucial that both their staffs communicate essential information and work towards common goals. A station captain gives the final approval of any changes deemed necessary to your community policing plan. They ensure activities are conducted in conformance with the law, with sound practices, and follow department policies. They are a designee, just like the city of Paramount, with the service area lieutenant, attend city council meetings and city functions as needed or requested. They must maintain ongoing dialogue with the city manager and staff relative to community safety issues. They also interact with community groups to provide community safety information. Captains should be dedicated to the concepts of effective and democratic local government and maintain a constructive, creative, and practical attitude towards local government affairs and a deep sense of social responsibility as a trusted public servant. Be dedicated to the highest ideals of integrity in all public and personal relationships in order to merit the respect and confidence of city officials, employees, and of the public. You can expect that all captains recognize that the chief function of local government is to people. So with our 42 contract cities, engagement to city managers, public safety directors, and city officials may have a different definition from city to city. With increased public scrutiny and demands for police accountability, engagement has materialized into requests for information or data. Thus, the need to know versus the right to know really comes into play. The right to know empowers cities by allowing them to participate in an informed way in decisions that affect them, while also holding us, the department, accountable, which defines the universal access to information. And the need to know restricts data, which is considered sensitive. And I think that's where some of the requests in the past few months have come into play. So building a relationship with your station captain is key and paramount. Whether it's through weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly update meetings, you should always be able to obtain data or information which supports the oversight of your contract and your public safety mission, to which City of Paramount obviously is already supporting that. So examples of data you can request from for your cities are, like we said, monthly compliance percentages and crime statistics for your city. In Paramount's case, that they really look at the vehicles that are out there, patrol cars, the deployment versus the contract city minutes. If you don't already have an city email notification group established, a notification group is ideal for incidents that city managers and the captain agree should be of interest to your elected officials and to other city officials, but know that only factual circumstances surrounding a crime or incident will be included in the notifications. And lately, there have been requests for data related to oversight of our personnel. With the exception of first name, last name, rank, and employee number, captains unfortunately are not permitted to release personnel records, complaints, disciplinary actions, investigations, unit level administrative investigations, training records, or information requests pursuant to Senate Bill 1421, which is the Peace Officers Release of Records. We've had several requests from cities to obtain access to our data network to view or monitor our deputies' DDWSs, their logs, as the city of Paramount does. We do have, like I mentioned, Paramount they have purchased the mobile digital computers and pay data and maintenance fees to have access. And only authorized users that have gone through background checks and have attended our department MDC training to ensure compliance with state and federal guidelines do have access. And only those who have purchased equipment will be given that access and that training through us. In closing, my office is always available to assist you and your city should you have any questions or concerns regarding your contracted services. And I'm sure this discussion will come into play when we start the renewal process of the new 5-year agreement, which we will probably start meeting as a group next year to start those discussions. So I'm sure this conversation is going to create some changes in our 5-year agreement, and we welcome that cooperation with our cities to ensure that we have and you have oversight of your contracted services. And thank you, Marcel, for inviting me to participate in this session. I turn it back to you.
Thank you, Sergio. We always appreciate your candor and coming on. And I know sometimes it's not easy because, you know, the state of law enforcement, particularly, I know there's cities that are concerned about the contract and all of that kind of fun stuff. So I appreciate you always being willing and able to be here to talk with our cities and let them know, like, from the department's perspective, what's going on. So with that, is there anybody out there? Do you have any questions about this? I thought it was really informative because, you know, when I was an elected official back, you know, long before the dinosaurs roamed the earth, I didn't know all of these things. I didn't know that this was a way that we could do contract oversight. I didn't know, you know, even some of the stuff that Sergio was talking about, how you're able to, you know, sort of manage the relationship with your station captain. I mean, we had a good relationship, but I didn't know that you could sort of, you know, adjust expectations and, you let them know what kind of data you expect and what kind of, even reports on significant incidents in your city. Are there any questions out there? Please use the raise hand feature. I've got a comment from Seppi saying that it was very easy to understand. So thank you, John, and your staff. You guys are great. I love what you're doing. And I would agree with Sergio 100% that there are going to be some cities that are going to follow suit with this. And this is why we do these types of sessions, is because we want to make sure that you all are sharing your best practices. This is something that I think a lot of cities are going to look at and potentially start doing. Yes, B, go ahead.
I unmuted. So I just wanted to have a question about, from the Paramount City administrators that are working on this program with Paramount for their contract, whether they think the system that they developed is adaptable to those stations where there's another city and maybe a small area of unincorporated area that the station does patrol in addition to the contract. Is it something that may make it difficult or even impossible to go to the system that they have in terms of monitoring patrol cars and numbers of deputies in those cars, or not?
I can answer that
yes.
real quick, and then Adriana, go ahead and jump in too. I feel it's purely adaptable to any city, but as Adriana and I both mentioned, it just takes a lot of work. You have to have the personnel, the dedication to it, the right people in the right places, and then also the buy-in from your lieutenants, your captains, which we've always had. We've been very fortunate to have that. So anything more to add to that, Adriana?
Yes, like I mentioned in my presentation, when we first started, we didn't know.
Oh, you're muted.
I did that. Sorry, I did that. Sorry, I saw the phone number and I muted you. Sorry, go ahead, Adriana.
Oh no, okay. Now I know who it was. The last
Sorry.
Okay, no, like I mentioned in my presentation, when we first started this, we didn't know we were going to end up with this comprehensive report. When you get started, you're going to be able to identify what works for you and the areas that you're just wasting your time on. What I would really encourage for everybody to do is just start and see where it ends up. I think it's really helpful. It really allows me to understand my contract almost to the T. I could look at something and say, yes, that's overtime, that's part of my deployment. So even if you review it, you stay sharp with your contract, which is very important to everybody. I think this is probably one of the most important contracts that each city has.
Absolutely. And I want to offer to Marcel, to anybody out there that does want to know more about this or wants to talk to Adriana and Anthony personally, feel free to have their staff reach out to us. We're here to help anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, John. I'm sure you're going to have to add some more staff just to fill phone calls and stuff.
So I have a question.
Yeah, hang on. I can't see who that
Manuel
is.
Ortiz from Irwindale.
Oh, hey, man. Let me add you to the spotlight here. Okay, go for it.
Yes. How long has Paramount have been in service with the sheriffs?
Since we were incorporated in 1956.
Oh, okay. And do you have the same deputies working for your city all the time, or does that vary?
It just depends. We have a lot of the same detectives, a lot of the same special assignment officers. Patrol, it's a little more hit and miss. Adriana, jump in. Do you agree it's hit and miss on the patrol side?
Yes, patrol is always the first step, I would say, that deputies take into their law enforcement career. But I'm happy to report that we have a lot of deputies that started out as patrol deputies, and then they become special assignment officers, and then they become detectives. So that really allows us to have them understand what we do here. And we have deputies that have been here for 20 years.
Good. Thanks. Thank you for the presentation. Very good.
Yeah, thank you. And then
you.
also, it ought to be noted too. We are told by our lieutenant there is a wait list to come to Paramount. So we're very proud that we've actually created an environment, a culture where there are deputies who do want to come and work for Paramount. So the minute there is an opening, that open spot is filled pretty quickly.
And now you're just showing off, John.
Yeah.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Go ahead, Ara.
Yeah, thank you, Adriana and John. This was very helpful. I'm with the city of Rancho Palos Verdes, and we're going through a very similar process. And I think you telling us that it's important to understand the patrol cars, because the minutes are one thing, but knowing how many cars are out there is really important for our city. Can you tell me, where are you getting all this data from that you're putting this, the daily charts from? Is that coming from the MDC, the mobile digital computers that you guys are using?
No, the first step is the CAD. So the CAD is our front desk people who are trained and have authorization to use it will let us know who's logged on. And the way I tell people why it's important to focus on the patrol versus the minutes, it's almost like if you're full-time and you have to work 40 hours, well, you have a schedule. You just can't come in whenever you want to fulfill your 40 hours. They have to be a scheduled 40 hours. So what we do is every shift, we have a CSO, a non-sworn personnel, look to see who is logged on, and they give us everybody. And then the next step will be to start extracting the 56-hour cars and 40-hour cars and see what schedule they were logged on.
So those are Adriana, those are individuals that work for you or for the sheriff's station?
For us.
Okay.
This whole report is basically generated by different city personnel. At the end, it gets to me, but it goes through maybe 4 different stages of city personnel.
But where are they getting the information from? See, that's what I'm struggling with is the sheriff station, is the Paramount station giving you that information daily, or are your staff actually calling and getting that information?
No, they can get it through the CAD, and the CAD is the computer that's in the front of our desk or in front of the station, where you can see who has logged on for their hours. It's almost like a timesheet. When did they clock in and when did they clock out, and who was in the car? That's not confidential information that we're getting from, some other wazoo, highly confidential sheriff's database. This is just basically looking at the timesheets that our people can look at. And then based on that, then we start our whole system. And that's on a daily basis. Because it's too hard to go back.
The short answer is we have access to it. We get it from the sheriff's department. They don't give it to us.
And you're getting that through that mobile digital computer? Is the CAD part of that, or is it separate?
It's separate.
Oh, okay. Because
It's separate.
Rancho Palos Verdes, we heard about what you're doing in Paramount, and so we're in the process of going through that training to get access to the MDC information. We're working towards doing that, and I want to be able to do something very similar, because we also in our city have an overtime special programs, and we're also trying to allocate. I want to know where, if I'm paying all this overtime when you're billing me on hours, well, where are you spending those hours, and how? I want to know how to track those hours and know what the results are, what I'm getting for spending that extra money on the patrol. So to me, it's very important to know how many cars are actually out on the road, not so much the minutes. It's the patrolling. It's having that visibility is really important.
Absolutely. And we can help
And
you.
just to add-
Yeah, we can help you with that. Or as I mentioned, if you want, we can set up a time to go over this with your staff in a little bit more detail as well. So
yeah, I believe we've been Mackenzie's been reaching out to So
Awesome.
we'll continue, John. I may talk to you offline as well. Thank you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you, everyone. I again, John, Adriana, Anthony, Sergio, I appreciate all of the input. I think this was, for me anyway, this was one of my favorite sessions, because again, anything that we can do as an association to bring this knowledge to other cities, to allow them to kind of look at ways that best practice that one of our cities is doing, and hopefully implement those best practices. That's exactly why we exist. So I'm going to get into the fun part of this part now. It'll only take a couple minutes. If you registered for our installation, our virtual installation banquet coming up on the 15th, you will be getting a box of goodies. If you haven't already got it, they went out yesterday. This is one of the things. This is from Williams Data Management. They're also going to be one of the gift cards. They're the sponsor of one of the gift cards that we're drawing today. These are just a couple things. TransTech. There's a little like lip balm, some breath mints. We have an Interwest. A cover for your laptop screen, so you don't get we always talk about getting hacked and stuff. And then JPIA gave us always, they're always good with the lip balm and a detachable keychain, so they're also a sponsor of one of the gift cards today. So now we're going to get to the fun stuff. So first we have from JPIA, it's a $50 gift card. It's an American Express gift card, so you can pretty much spend it anywhere that American Express is accepted, even though they don't pay us any money. So this is the way we're going to do it. I'm going to share my screen for transparency for all of you. Just as we would do if we were in Indian Wells, we would do a drawing from business cards that you guys would put into a bowl or write your names on a little card. So what I'm going to do is I have a random number generator here. I have a spreadsheet that has all of your names, everybody that registered up to about maybe a couple minutes before we started today. So I have all of your names here, and it's from 1 through 58. Of course, our staff and Jorge is never eligible to win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a random number generator from 1 to 58, and then we'll go to that line and see who the winner is for the $50 American Express gift card. So I'll hit generate, and it comes up with 33. Let's see who line 33 is. Now you have to be present to win. If you left early, you don't get to win a prize today. So 33 is going to be Kyle Miller from Senator Archuleta's office. Are you still here? Nope, Kyle's not here. All right, next winner here. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. 25. 25 is Mark Mitchell. I saw him earlier. There he is right there. I see you, Mark. Okay, so we'll get this to you. I have your address. That's why we asked for your address and stuff, aside from the gift box. So we'll get this to you. The next one now is from Williams Data Management. Is there anybody here from JPIA, by the way? No, I didn't see anybody earlier. This is from Williams Data Management. Is Gary here? I didn't see him earlier. Okay, so from Williams Data Management, this is a $100 Amazon gift card. So Marcel, oh great. So thank you for coming, everybody. I won. Just kidding, of course. Give me 1 second. Let's do it again. We'll do it. So I'm gonna delete your mark because winners cannot win twice. So I'm gonna change this to 57 now. And we'll generate a number, 57. 57 is, that's one of the last people to register, I believe, Nancy Tregars. Nancy, I see Nancy, you win. Okay, so Nancy, we'll make sure we get it to you. Congratulations. And you'll get this $100 gift card from Amazon. Mark, you'll get the $50 gift card from American Express. We'll have some more prizes next week at our session, which will be about how your city can deal with illegal narcotics facilities, whether it be marijuana that aren't unlicensed or even more egregious types of drugs like meth labs and that type of stuff, and how your city can recoup some of the funds that that it will cost you to help eradicate those facilities from your cities. And then again on the 15th, we will be doing our virtual installation honoring Mark Warrenek, Jeff Wood as our Secretary Treasurer, and Ali Sahad Taj will be our Vice President coming in. Thank you all for joining us. I appreciate you. We can't do this without you. Again, remember September 16th through the 19th. Put it on your calendars. I hope to see you all there. We're going right now. We're being conservative with the room block, but if I start seeing a lot of registrants, I need to know early. So please register early. We're going to try to open registration probably in mid-June, so we can have an idea how many of you will be coming out and joining us for in person. Get your vaccinations if you haven't, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great session.